Trying to get Lindsey on here. I don't see her quite yet here, but it's going to be a good call this morning. I'm excited about today's call. Appreciate everybody for being on. Hey, Chuck, you mind just hopping on real quick and just letting us know about your last adventure? That was just an amazing adventure in Africa and with Share the Love. Do you mind sharing a little bit?
It was an amazing, definitely a cultural immersion. There's no question about it. We were there for 3 weeks from September 8th to September 28th, and we were in Kenya and Uganda. Uh, Augie Ballot uses a line. In Kenya, they drive, those are former British colonies. So in Kenya, they drive on the left side of the road.
Oh
In
boy.
Uganda, they drive on the road that's left because it was some rough going. We went back in. It was for Chair of the Love, so we were distributing wheelchairs, and we had one day where all the chairs we distributed, 8 of them, were in the villages, not at a central distribution site. So we went off some. We went from dirt roads to rugged roads to goat paths to where we finally had to park and walk. Uh, but we went into some areas where there's, to put it mildly, there are no extras, no fluff in those people's lives. Life is tough. But it was quite a touching. It's hard to say, yeah, I enjoyed it. We did enjoy it, and it's more meaningful than that. It's a deeper experience than that. Plus, we got to do some safaris and touring too, so just an incredible experience. Go to a distribution trip with Chair of the Love.
Yes, yes. Junior, who's normally on this call, just went this week to Mexico with them, and it was good to see all the pictures from that too. So, yeah, sometimes you go to these third world countries, and a wheelchair really is a luxury. So,
Oh man.
um, it was really touching to hear that. I talked to Augie this week as well, trying to set him up with a missionary friend I know in Belize about our Belize trip that I'm going to be going on with him in December. So excited about that as well. I don't have Lindsey on, guys, right now. I talked to her this morning. She is coming on. I don't know what's holding her up here, but
No,
I'm.
I'm here. I
Oh, you
just
are.
cannot get my name changed for whatever
There you
reason. My
go.
son used my Zoom and I'm Carter
Gotcha.
right now.
Okay. I got you. All right, cool. We're going to get started, guys. Appreciate everybody for being here. I'm just going to share my screen and get through the slides that I normally get through so you guys can get to Lindsey. Before we get started, I will ask you guys I know there's a lot of Christians on here. I'm just going to ask everybody to just pray for our family this week. My wife's aunt and uncle passed away on Friday. We've got family in out of town. Becky was really close to her aunt, and just a lot of drama going on with that this week. And just pray for us, give us a little bit of grace, and prayer is really just what our family needs right now. I just kind of wanted to mention that, guys, everybody. So I appreciate that in advance. So I just want to let you guys know that. But hey, we're here for the Dealmaker community call. Jim said he was going to be a little bit late to today's call, but thank you guys for hopping on. We do these calls every month to just kind of say, hey, let's get together as a community. Let's bring on an expert speaker, learn a little bit of something else, ask questions. And that's what we're going to do today. And I'm really excited about today's call with Lindsey. I don't know Lindsey super well. I actually just met her for the first time at a random meeting that we didn't really know we were going to meet together with Mr. Landlord. And Bill's like, Bill Cook said, you got to have Lindsey on one of your calls. Bill's one of our previous speakers, just spoke a couple months ago on this. And Bill's just been a really good friend of mine. Anybody that Bill says I should have on this call, I believe I should have on this call. So welcome, Lindsey. Appreciate you spending some time with us today and sharing some of your secrets about how to do deals that you never would be able to do if you didn't know some of these secrets. Last month's call, guys, was honestly one of the best calls we've had. I don't even know how many people we had on here because there were so many screens. And it went a little bit long. Apologize for that, but we were talking about small dollar IRAs. If you guys did not hop on last month, I promise you it'll be worth your time to go watch the replay. Go to goodsuccess.com to find more about that. Today's going to be Lindsey Jensen talking about master leases, talking about doing deals you never thought you could get done. I'm excited about having Lindsey on today. Every month I want to remind people about the Sherwin-Williams and the Lowe's discounts. Again, I had another painter this week, guys. Somebody who thought he was getting the best price at Sherwin-Williams he could possibly get, because he's been a painter for 30 years and he knew for sure that there's no way that my Dealmaker discount was going to be better than his Sherwin-Williams discount. And we cut some of his paint prices by like $10 a gallon. I'm telling you guys, if you're not signed up for this, get signed up. This is how you get signed up for Sherwin-Williams. You just take a screenshot of this picture of this right here and bring it to your local store. You do have to have an account. And if you have any other questions, you can talk to Tom at the bottom. There's his phone number. But if you just bring this to your local store and say, hey, I want to get signed up for the Dealmaker discount program, they will know exactly what to do if you just give them this piece of paper. And then in addition to that, we also have the Lowe's discounts as well. So you get an additional 5 to 15% off if you do online ordering. So, and trust me, I know everybody's like, oh, I don't want to do online ordering. I want to go to the store. Once you start ordering online, it's like Amazon. You stop going to Walmart, you stop going to Target, and you just order everything online. And that's how it's been for our companies as well. If you guys are spending more than $75,000, $100,000 a year and you're not signed up for some of their higher end programs, please let me know. I can help you guys get in touch with that as well. But you guys want to be on these two programs that we have for deal makers. We are starting to raise money again for our missions trip next year. Just talked to this this morning. Was just talking to Chuck about him going with Augie and Share the Love to Ghana and to different places in Africa. We will be having a charity auction at the upcoming Dealmaker event here in Gary, Indiana, September 4, 5, and 6. And we'll be raising money for the seniors for next year's missions trip and for Share the Love. So I'm excited about that. A couple things coming up. Landshark University, my good friends Jerry Rickey and Sam Rickey, who just started a new Dealmaker in the Panhandle. I'm excited to be able to go down there when I'm down there and go to their new Dealmaker event. They might be on the call here. I can't see them right now, but if you guys are, welcome. I believe there's still a couple rooms available for this. So you guys want to get on this Landshark University cruise, make that happen. Also, I'll remind everybody about Wendy Sweets Sunrisers every Friday morning. She's going to be one of our speakers at the upcoming Dealmaker, Gary, and she's also running a mastermind, an hour and a half mastermind on that Saturday. You don't want to miss the Saturday of the Dealmaker, Gary. These are some of the speakers that are going to be there for our Gary Dealmaker event. Anything from investing out of the country to your own private money lending club, DSCR lending. Felipe, I'm telling you guys are going to want to hear his systems he's got set up for real estate investing. Derek Long, going to be there with self-directed IRAs. Anthony Duncan, who is building AI suites out for me and my company right now. He's going to be talking about AI. We're also building a voice assistant with him right now. Eddie McCracken talking about how to make $10,000 a month on one house. Jim Ingersoll is going to be one of our featured speakers as well, talking about becoming a deal maker. So we're less than 60 days away from this event, and you want to make sure that you get your tickets. I'm going to give you guys a special code. If you use this coupon code SAVE100, you guys will get $100 off your tickets for that. So make sure that happens. It's September 4, 5, and 6. And we will have an event on the 3rd. So in the evening, just want to let everybody know, we'll have a networking event with the speakers and sponsors on the 3rd on Wednesday night at Tiny's Coffee Bar, which we did that same thing last year, if you guys were there last year. And then we will be going to that same place again on Thursday night. Friday night, we will be doing the charity auction, and we'll be doing Chicago-style pizza at the venue. And we will also be doing real estate horror stories. So make sure you bring your real estate horror stories. We give a big, I don't know, $100 to $200 gift card out for the winner of that. And then we will be giving over $1,000 worth of prizes on the Saturday as well. So don't miss Saturday. Also, want to remind everybody about becoming limitless private capital, 3 days with Jim Ingersoll. And I'm one of the speakers, and I'm helping out with that as well. Jeff Watson, some other great wonderful speakers talking about private lending, October 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Dallas, Texas. So make sure you guys get those tickets as well. Next month, there's going to be Brandon Richardson, how to properly use your CRM to get more deals. He runs a CRM, and I'm excited to have him on. He also does some land deals that are interesting as well. So you guys will be on for next month. August 19th, 11 a.m. Eastern time. All right. So without further ado, I'm just going to give Lindsey the floor. And Lindsey's never been on these calls, so she doesn't know what to expect. But if you guys do have questions, I know she loves when people have questions. You guys can put them in the chat, and we can also have question answer time. She's going to leave some question answer time as well for the end. So welcome, Lindsey. Thank you for being on today. Appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you so much. And again, it will not let me sign in. So Carter's my son. I'm Lindsey. Apologize for that. But okay, let me share my screen with you all real quick. Okay, can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Good. All right. So today I'm going to talk about the riches in landlording and master leasing and how to build wealth and cash flow without risk or startup money. So I honestly believe that learning to be a landlord, especially in the market that we're in right now, is going to give you a huge head start into being either a better investor, or it's going to give you a leg up on being a starter investor in the upcoming deals that I think we're going to see. Plus, it's going to give you, in certain areas of the country, it's really hard to find deals right now. They're out there for sure. But if you want to get your foot in the door with people before something becomes a really good deal, this is a wonderful way to do it. So just a little bit about me. I bought my first house when I was 21. So my dad was he was a real estate appraiser. So I used to go to work with him when I was a kid. I would look up houses on the microfiche and do all that stuff. So my brother and I actually both got bit by the house bug, as I say, and we both ended up being investors, me a little bit more full-time than him, but we both own rentals, and that just kind of came from being around it with my dad. He was an investor. They did more fix and flip type stuff. And so now I work part-time. I'm a landlord. I do some flips. Obviously a marketer. Up until last year, I owned my own SEO company alongside everything else that I was doing with investing, and then full-time mom and wife. So I say all that because I want people to understand that in order to start something like this, you don't have to have a full-time spot in order to do this. You can definitely do it starting part-time. When I started this, I had 2 days a week in which to do everything that I had to do. I had my kids at home with me at the beginning full-time. I didn't have daycare for them. We started with 2 days a week. And then, like I said, I had an SEO company that I was taking care of on top of that. So you definitely can get this started part-time.
I'm glad you said that, Lindsey, really. And people don't talk about that enough. I really think the first stage of most real estate entrepreneurs' career is like kind of doing this as a hobby. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Like, and trust me, this is a much better hobby, guys, than like going to the casino, or like there's a whole lot of other things that you can do to waste your time and waste your money that is not really going to be an investment in your future. But more people don't talk about that, Lindsey. I appreciate you bringing that up.
No problem. If I had to do it full time, I wouldn't have been able to in the beginning. So it just makes sense that I want to bring it down to a level where it's not overwhelming for people. So real quick, go ahead and type into the chat for me. What do you think of when you when you're looking at the word landlord, or when you think of the word landlord? What does that bring up for you? Friends do. I like that one. What else?
Money, difficult
tenants, headache. Yep. Income. Awesome. Anything else? Tired and broke. Very. Problem after problem. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, the thoughts of this vary a lot, but I'm not going to lie. Like the thoughts of time consuming problems, tired and broke, and issue after issue, that's what most people think of. That's completely normal. So I'm hoping that by kind of listening to what I have to say today, that I can shift your perspective on this just a little bit and let you know that there is a better way. And there's a way that it isn't problem after problem, and that you do have a way to take care of a lot of houses without spending your entire life on doing that. So when I got started, I read The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. And by reading that, it had just a ton of different people in there and their perspectives on investing and what their lifestyles were like. And that book, along with some of my mentors, is how I decided to be a buy and hold investor from the very beginning. I thought before I read that and before I got into the creative world that we're in with Jim Ingersoll and my mentor, Michael Jake and David Tilney and Bill Cook, I thought that I wanted to be a fix and flip investor. I read that book and it completely changed my mind because I wanted the lifestyle of eventually being able to have time freedom, right? That's why we get into this. And by what I was reading, I found out that if I do fix and flips, I'm just creating my own job, and I'm never going to be able to get out of that. So what I did was I started by learning to be a really good landlord. And I learned that from David Tilney. And then I built skills on how to purchase houses, one skill at a time. But my out for those was always into the landlording. Now, yes, there were some fix and flips that I did, and I learned that skill, and I think it's a good skill to have. But very rarely did I get rid of houses. Most of them I kept. Like I did BRRRRs. I did seller financing where I kept them, and then they went into my landlording. Sub twos went into landlording. Everything that I did, even though I learned all these skills on how to acquire properties in different ways, my exit was always the same, which made my systems very simple. It was basically all of the people that I approached on the front end. I approached them the exact same. The paperwork was just a little different depending on their circumstance on how we needed to purchase the property. But the exit was basically the same, and it just went right into my system. By focusing and doing things this way, I was able to acquire $10 million in real estate in my first 6 years. And again, and over the last couple of years, that's built up to 12 million. So, and I say that because, again, think of where you might be in 5 years. It's going to pass anyway. Why not go ahead and decide to start building something that will eventually allow you to retire? So what is master leasing? So a master lease is when you lease the property from the landlord. So I would be the tenant, and then the owner would be the landlord. And then I have permission to sublease. So then I lease the property to an occupant tenant, and I technically manage those tenants. I am their landlord. You could call it a sandwich lease, right? It's the same thing. It's just called master leasing. It's really common in the commercial space. So why would you want a master lease? Well, for me, it was financial time and freedom. So what is that? When you think about it, if cash flow is greater than expenses, that is financial freedom. You can do what you want to do. So I want you to maybe scribble on some paper in front of you really quick. What would it take to replace your current income? Or at least get you to a point where maybe you could step back a little bit. Would it be $5,000 a month? Well, let's just say for me, it was $5,000 a month, okay? What I did was I figured, okay, in my area, the average rent is $2,000 a month. What's 10% of that? It's $200. So 200 into 5,000 is 25 houses. And I know if you're not a landlord yet, that probably seems like a lot of houses, especially like overwhelming thought of bringing on 25 houses. But if you learn to be a good landlord, that can go significant, like very, very fast. I took care of my own properties and I got a good name for myself. And when I opened it up to other investors saying I would take care of their houses and master lease them, I had 40 in one summer. I got 40 of them. And I did that after a hip surgery. So I was sitting on the couch while this all happened. So it is very possible to build this business very quickly. Now, I don't recommend taking on 40 in one summer if you haven't built a strong foundation and systems, which is a little bit of what I'll talk to you about today. However, once you've built that, you can build this up pretty quick. The nice thing is you need little to no capital. You're not putting deposits down on these houses. And income is passive and it can increase over time. As your rents increase, even if you don't take on more houses, your income is increasing. I love the fact that you can test drive houses and areas. So this is less risk than ownership. So let's say you buy a house in a bad area. Well, then you have to figure out how to dispose of that once you're sick of it, right? Now, I use master leasing as a way to test drive areas. So I wanted to get some houses in a city that's about an hour south of me called Pueblo. They were less expensive. I wanted to test it out. But I just didn't know the area. I didn't have crews down there. I didn't have people I could trust. And I didn't even know if I could get good tenants. Well, when I opened it up that summer and got 40 master leases, probably about 10 to 15 of those were down in the Pueblo area. And just over the next couple of months, realizing not only could I get good tenants, but I quickly learned which areas were good and which ones weren't. I was able to understand that, yes, I can get good tenants in that area. And I knew where I was comfortable buying. And within 6 months of getting my master leases in the Pueblo area, I owned my first home, and then quickly over the next 6 months bought 2 more. So it's a wonderful way to figure out areas, build up your crews, and earn money while you're doing it too. So this also works anywhere, like you literally anywhere in the United States, and you can do it with better houses than you'd be able to purchase. One of the reasons that's wonderful is because, you know, the better the house, the less trouble the tenant a lot of times. Okay, so if you're doing a lot of stuff in really bad areas, it's a lot harder to get great tenants. So if you can't afford great houses in great areas yet, this is how you get your foot in the door. You can also control property without the ownership. Especially here in Colorado, I can't emphasize enough how much control the tenant has. And so this is a wonderful way to use that to your advantage. And there's no competition. So some of the things I'll be showing you in here benefits you and the owner and the tenants, and nobody else offers these solutions. This is recession proof. We're going through a recession right now, and my master leasing business actually picked up. So that's what's wonderful. In the times where possibly buying or selling is a little bit harder, this business will pick up for you. Big expenses like hot water heaters and roofs are not going to be your problem. You can get long-term leases. Most of mine start at 5 years. You can increase interest rates and there can be increased interest rates, and there's no negative effect to you. As a matter of fact, if people are having a hard time selling their homes, which they are right now in Colorado Springs, it gives me an ability to offer different solutions to those owners who can't sell and maybe can't even afford to rent out their houses a traditional way. And like I said before, you can maintain your day job while you get this up and running. Now, you can have all of the benefits that owners don't need. Basically, just like when you're purchasing a house for a creative deal, sit them down and find out what they really need, and then you can take the other benefits. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go through this. But once you earn an owner's trust, they're going to send you referrals. I've never advertised my master leasing business, and I get more business than I can even handle. I can actually be very picky about the houses that I take on because of that, which is a wonderful position to be in. And the earned trust comes in really handy when owners are ready to sell. So who do you think is the very first person to know when an owner is ready to sell? It's me. It's either me or the property manager. Whoever is managing that property is the first person to know. And as investors, don't we always want to be the first person to know when someone's selling their rental? So this is a great way to get your foot in the door. So you have more control than if you're a property manager as well. Because I'm also a tenant, sometimes I can take a lot of that pressure off of the owner, and they don't have to do as much as they would with a traditional property manager. So again, we'll go through more of that as we go through this. For those of you that know Pete Fortunato in this group, I would expect most of you, this is just how he divides the house and how he says there's many different ways of carving up the benefits and the profits to a house. So I'll kind of show you how you can use a lot of these as a master leaser. So obviously the income is what you can make by leasing the house. The tax benefits are wonderful as if you master lease a property, because if you're a property manager, that income is active income. So it's taxed as regular income. As a master leaser, you are bringing in income that's passive. So you're not paying self-employment tax on that income because you're a principal in the transaction. You don't have a recapture of depreciation on this. Now with profit, you can sell or sublease your master lease interest. Like I've actually had people offer to buy my book of business, and I can sell that. A lot of these will go for $2,000 a door if I ever decide to sell my book of business. So you can put in your leases that you get part of the appreciation of the property. If you have a long-term lease and they want to sell before that is up, you can ask the seller to pay some of the profit to remove your lease. And I've actually had this happen. I've let some people out of their leases and then they gave me 1 or 2 years, whatever I would have made over the next couple of years for leasing that property. They paid me out on that early. And so I got paid for that without having to actually do the work. And honestly, it was something that they were happy to do. Obviously, if you manage the tenant, you make the income. You can also get the amortization on the property. So if you couple this with an option on the owner's equity, you can get some of that as well. We'll go over some deals where I explain this. And master tenants can actually borrow against well-secured long-term leases. Now, I don't have any 30-year leases, but I mean, there are some, I do know people who do this and they have leases on properties where the owner has died and there's no next of kin. They don't technically own the house, but as long as they continue to pay the taxes and the mortgage, if there is one, and take care of it, eventually they can become the owner of the property. So here's a few different leases to offer. And Kathleen, I will get to your question. A few different leases to offer. So performance. This is a percentage of whatever I bring in from the occupant tenant. So it's wonderful when there's room for the owner to make money too. And this is my most common approach, is a performance lease. And this is what the lease says. So New Generation Homes is my front-facing master lease company. So it says New Generation Homes rent is 90% of whatever is brought in each month. If no rent comes in, no rent is paid. So again, that is basically me taking a 10% spread, but it reads as the rent is 90% of whatever is brought in, okay? So here's an example. This is my Chiricahua house. It's a performance lease. This actually came from a seller lead. They couldn't sell, and they didn't really like the offer I wanted, and I wasn't willing to pay what they wanted, but they mentioned that if they couldn't sell, they were interested in renting. And I said, well, listen, I can actually help you with that as well. And I just walked them through all the benefits of working with me. And one of the things that I told them is, look, if you ever need to sell, I'm a buyer and I'm much more willing to purchase this house with my own renters in it than I am with somebody else's. You know, I also told them I can help if life happens. Excuse me. If you run into issues with money on a repair and you don't have it, I do and can a lot of times help with that. And so I let them know up front that's not free money, but that I would ask for a payback or a loan, or we would work something out, but that option is there. And most property managers do not offer that. So it gives them a lot of comfort to go with someone like me because they have those options there. You know, and I also tell them, look, you already know I'm interested in the house, right? So if I'm interested in it, I'm probably going to take better care of a house that I'm interested in buying than someone who is more interested in you eventually selling it. So they did go ahead and sign up with me. They've been with me, I think, 3 or 4 years now. All right. Now, the next lease that we're talking about is a fixed lease. So you can give an owner a certain payment every month, no matter what. And I'm going to give you an example of what that is. You need to make it low enough to make sure that you have money to cover vacancy and expenses, however. So you want to make sure you understand management and your market before offering these leases, okay? So you could also offer to make nothing right now, but negotiate a really long-term lease that allows you to make more money in the future. And if you did this, you would want to have a deed of trust attached to the house to point to your agreement with the owner if this is something that you're going to do. So here's an example. Let's say there's a mortgage for $2,100 and the owners cannot afford to make less than that. However, $2,100 is all that you can rent the property for. So you guarantee them $2,100 a month for 5 years. The owners must take care of all the repairs. And so you do a note and deed of trust that shows that you owe them, or that they owe you $25,000, okay? How did I come up with that money or that amount? $210 a month, which is what you would have made over 12 months by 5 years, is $12,600. However, I want to make double because I'm not only taking more of a risk, but I'm also waiting on my money. So I'm giving them an option that no one else will. So what I want for that is the $25,200. So you can then negotiate that. Or you can also say, hey, as the rent increases, I would like to also keep that increased amount. So anything over the 2,100 is what I keep. And honestly, that's what you don't really have to negotiate that. That's what a fixed lease is. You make the $2,100 a month payment and that's it. So as rent increases, you get that extra amount. You can manage it for free and take half of the upside. So what you'd want to do is figure out what the house is worth now and then get a long-term lease for 5 to 10 years or longer. And then you do a note and it says, Lindsey Jensen gets $12,425 plus 50% of the net profits above $245,000. So what that means is basically this $245,000 here is what we're assuming the house is worth now. So the owners get that immediately, okay? Now the $12,425 is what I would have made over that 5 years. Okay. Now let's say that the house sells for $245 or $345. The seller is going to take $245,000. I get my $12,425. The remaining $87,575 is then split between me and the owner. So that's a way that you can take, this is you getting part of not only the appreciation, but also the pay down of the mortgage. You can also get an option to take all of the upside and just promise that you'll also take care of all the repairs that go along the way as well. This way, they're not out of pocket any money every single month. Like their mortgage is 100% covered. You're effectively buying the house sub 2 at this point, right? So, but you're not taking on a negative payment. Does that make sense? So you're getting a really good deal here. You could even say, hey, I'll take all of the repairs, care of all the repairs up to this amount per year. So it's just a negotiation tactic and you kind of see what they need. Nobody else is doing this. Nobody. So I have a clause in all my master leases and it's a first right of refusal option to purchase the house basically. And it just says, as an inducement for master tenant to lease this property, the landlord hereby grants to master tenant a first right of refusal option to purchase the leased property for blank of any sales price the landlord agrees to with any current or prior occupant tenant. So the reason I have that crossed out is because you can leave it in there or you can cross it out. It just depends. So you may want to leave it and I just say, look, I want to be able to buy this property for 94% of whatever you agree to with an occupant tenant. That's basically a 6% commission, right? So it's the same as if someone was selling your house. But if I find the person who purchases it, shouldn't I get a cut? You can say it like that. That's a wonderful way to do it. Or you could sell it back to them. That's what that second half of this is for the 6% of the sales price realized. So you just get a cut of the purchase for them. So I've never had anybody fight me on this, and you can put whatever number you want to in here. It doesn't have to be 6%. It could be 10%. It could be 2%. It could be whatever you negotiate with the owner. So again, you can either leave any current or occupant tenant in there, and you make it only for if you've hooked them up with an occupant tenant, or you can take it out and just say, hey, I'm doing you a favor here. I want first right of refusal to purchase this property. So if you get good at being a landlord, I promise you, houses literally fall in your lap. So I cannot tell you this enough times that my wealth has come from being a landlord. So Alfredo was a friend of mine. He was in a lot of the groups that I was in, but he was a wholesaler. So he wasn't keeping properties, but he would come into the groups, the masterminds and stuff like that, the RIA meetings, and say he wanted to keep more properties because he needed tax write-offs. He was a wonderful wholesaler, but he just needed more tax write-offs because he had too much money from the wholesaling, but he didn't know how to do it. Well, I had a contractor bring me this house and it was on the market, and he's like, this is a great deal. And I went and looked at it and I said, yep, it'll make a wonderful rental, and it is a good deal. However, I know who owns this, and we're not going to get it for that price. This guy knows what he's doing. So I called Alfredo and I said, look, what are you doing? This is a perfect property for you to keep. Why are you wholesaling it? He's like, well, I don't know how to make this work with the owner because they need it this way. And so what I did was I sat him down and I showed him how he can make this work with the owner, giving the owner what they needed and also us getting it for the price we needed. And then I worked it out with him how he could like basically burr the property. And then I just said, look, I'll take care of it for you. You know, I'll master lease it from you and take care of it. And you won't have to worry about a thing, because Alfredo likes to travel the world while he works. So he came over the next day and goes, I've run the numbers on this property and it's going to cash flow a ton. I said, I know. So he ended up giving up a $50,000 wholesale fee on this place to keep it. And we split it 50-50 because of the way I worked the deal with him. So again, this just worked out really well for the two of us. And now he owns it. And I'm technically a lender on the property for 50% interest. Now, if anyone knows what these are cockroaches. So he had told me that he has 2 Pueblo properties. He was the start of my master leasing in Pueblo. And so he's like, hey, would you take care of these 2 properties for me? And he did that because he loved how I handled this last property that we did together. And I said, absolutely. So he said, okay, well, the current property manager said that all it needs is a new sink. So I sent my guys down there to give it a new sink. And they called me and they're like, Lindsey, there's cockroaches falling off the ceiling. So I told him to get out. And I said, how long has it been since you've been in this property? And I explained to him, it's probably the worst infestation I've ever seen for cockroaches. And then also there was human excrement all over the place. But this property manager said it just needed a new sink. Now, I'm only telling you this because I want you to understand, not all property managers are bad. There's a lot that care. But they're at scale. So there's a difference in how they take care of properties, but there's also some that just don't care. This person did not care. This is how he took care of properties. I inherited a lot of properties from this property manager, and they all looked like this. They did not care who was in the house. So all that to say, this is why it's so easy to get referrals. So I helped him rehab that property, and he loved it and gave me 1 million referrals, and we ended up moving on and buying more properties together down in Pueblo. He would find them. I would help him work out the paperwork and stuff, and then I would take care of them, and I would get half the house just for doing that. So the paperwork I used on this was a first note and a deed of trust. I needed a payoff statement because what I did was we loaned him the money to do the burr. So I got a payoff statement. Then I got a second note and deed of trust on the refinance showing that I get half of the house upon sale and half of any cash flow during each year. And then I got the master lease agreement. So this right here is my mentor, Michael Jake. And then you can see my other mentor, David Tilney. Mike Jake did not want to manage anymore. I should actually say his wife didn't want to manage anymore. Mike found the houses, Lori managed them, and she was like, nope, I'm done. But he wanted to keep going. He wanted to keep building. So he knew how well I took care of houses and just partnered with me. So every time he found a house, he gave me half of the house in order to take care of it. The great thing about this for these guys that I'm partnering with is that I'm not taking a management fee. So they're effectively getting free management for giving half the house away. It makes it affordable and it makes deals work by doing that. So with Michael Jake, some of the paperwork I would use is I purchased in the name, and the cool thing is he wanted to use his IRA money. So I'm the actual owner of these properties. So I would purchase them in the name of a land trust. I'm the trustee. We would do sub-2 closing documents. And then there's a note and a deed of trust for Michael Jake. So showing that he on those is 50% owner or gets 50% of the sale or the money each year. Now, I want you to know that investors are not your competitors, okay? Investors have been my biggest source of referrals. So I get referrals all the time from Alfredo, from Michael Jake, my friend Tim. like I said earlier, I got paid for a year when one of our other investors sold a house early. He happily paid me for a year of work that I didn't have to do. And then there's offers to purchase houses. So like, again, when they're out there looking for houses and they don't want to take care of them, they need to not have to pay a property manager to make a deal work. I get houses literally falling in my lap that I get half of just for taking care of them the way I do all my other properties. I find houses from contractors and tired landlords. Obviously, tired landlords don't want to do this anymore, and I just kind of come in, but a lot of them are not ready to sell yet. And I come in and I take care of these people and I say, look, I am happy to take care of you. I will make sure your property's taken care of. You don't have to do anything anymore. But when they're done, who do you think they're going to feel comfortable selling to? And they're already used to getting payments from me. It's prime time to make an offer of payments on a house that you're buying that they're done with. It's also a lot of times very helpful for them tax-wise. And contractors, I work it out with contractors all the time. I'm like, hey, if you know of someone that's selling, or if you find a house that looks like A, B, or C, if you bring it to me, I will split it with you. You do your job, I will make the deal work. I'll come up with the money. You rehab it and we'll split the profits. And I've done that numerous times with contractors, but it's great because I have no marketing on those houses. They're just brought to me. You can master lease and then do VRBOs. So my friend Tim, we took our first master leasing class together. I did the long-term route. He went the short-term route. So he does short-term rentals. So he basically does arbitrage is what it's called a lot of times now. And sometimes the owner comes in and they will furnish the place and he takes 25% of the short-term rental income. Or sometimes what people will do is they'll pay just fair market rent for the property and then they furnish it and then they get all of that income from the short-term rental. So I have a student, Melissa, out in Ohio that does that. She finds them from Zillow. She calls on for rent by owners and says, hey, I will rent it out for the price that you want. Here's what I want to do with it. Give me your permission and I'll do a long-term lease with you. And she's basically been able to quit her job by doing that. It's been a wonderful, wonderful way for her to make a living and get out of what she's doing as she wanted to do. I think she bought over 10 properties last year. In 1 year, she did this. So whether you go short-term or long-term, that's completely up to you, but there's definitely ways to do both. Now you can also turn repairs into profits. So most people are accidental landlords, and that creates a lot of opportunity for you to cut yourself into a deal. So when a repair arises that an owner cannot pay for, and I have this happening right now, and there's a few things you can do. You can get an option on the house. You lend them the money and you get an option on it. You can have them pay you back 3-to-1, meaning if I loan them $1,000, they owe me $3. It could be 2-to-1, it could be whatever you want. I'm just giving an example here. You can turn it into a loan with interest. Maybe you want 12% interest and 2 points, whatever. You can turn it into that. You can ask if they would like to sell it to you. You can say, look, it looks like this house is too much for you to handle. Is it something that you'd be interested in selling and I can handle this repair and you don't have to worry about it anymore? It's just a lot of options that you can give the owner that they wouldn't have otherwise, and it cuts you into a deal. So what would you say to owners? How do you get these deals? First of all, you need to listen. You need to give the owner what they need and want, okay? You can create contracts based on each owner. Not all of my contracts are the same. I have a basic template and then we go through and we write in what works for that owner, okay? You don't need state approved contracts for this and you don't have to be licensed. So I am not licensed in Colorado and I don't need to be to do this because I'm a principal in the transaction. I'm a part of it. Again, I have more control over the property, so you don't have to do as much. most people that come to me, a lot of them have dealt with property managers in the past, and property managers run every question by them. I have a video testimonial of some customers of mine, some owners, saying, oh my God, it was a nightmare. They called us for everything. And I'm like, what am I paying you for? Da, 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 da. And I said, I just tell people, I'm guessing you just want money to magically show up in your account and know your house is taken care of. Is that right? And most people go, absolutely. So I give them that. They give me the control that I need to take care of the property. And honestly, this is what allows me to live a life, because I don't have to run everything by the owners, and I just get done what needs to be done with the properties. And the way I put it to them from the very beginning actually makes them very happy about that.
Yeah.
They get my contractor discounts. And then, so I don't upcharge on any kind of contractor repairs. They also get active participation because they're choosing who they're leasing to. So that can give them tax relief from passive losses. And most property managers have a clause in their contract that states they get first right of refusal to sell the property. Mine says I get first right of refusal to buy. And I just say, who do you think is going to take better care of your property? There's also vicarious liability. So when people hire property managers, because they're hiring them to work on their behalf, if the property manager does something wrong, they can get sued for it. Where with me, they're not hiring me. I'm working on my own behalf. So if something goes wrong, the buck should stop with me and not go through to the owners. And we do everything in our power to protect them for those things. Because I'm collecting debts on my own behalf, I am not subject to the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. And this just shows that it does not apply to the landlord itself. And I just tell them, I can lose you less. I go from a tenant to a tenant with no downtime, right? I make repairs while tenants are in the property. Nobody else does that. And master tenants don't charge extra fees. There's a ton of extra fees that property managers, they fee owners and tenants to death. And I don't do that, which creates a lot less expenses for the owner and the tenant, which means a lot longer term tenancy most of the time. So the key to master leasing is good management. I want you to shift your perspective. Tenants are the assets, not the real estate. Because if the asset or if the real estate is vacant, that is a liability. So you need to make sure you treat your asset, the tenants, as such. They are your on-site managers and more. So give tenants the control that they need to do the job that you've hired them to do, okay? When you put people first, remarkable things happen. So this is a property that, this is what it looked like before. It was right after I rehabbed it. This was my first Pueblo property I was talking to you about. And this is what the owner did to it, or the tenant did to it after she moved in. It's very cute and homey, and she was taking good care of the yard. This was the backyard when she moved in, and she was like, if you'll let me move in, I will take care of all of the backyard if you'll just get me a roll off, which I did. You saw that in that first photo. And then this is what she did to it. She got it all taken care of and planted her vegetable garden, which she's showing me here. And this is a Section 8 tenant, you guys. Here's just a few more. This property, the tenant, I told them they had to start, they got a really good deal. I'm not going to go into all the details, but I told them they had to start taking care of the yard and improve on it, and they sure did. This is the rocks. These are just kind of the photos along the way. So they put in a rock path here. They planted a bunch of flowers. They took out an old sprinkler system that was just completely beyond repair, and they rototilled this yard. She even took a picture of this and made her own bird bath. It was really cute. They really take care of the house. So you're not a manager, you're a professional landlord. Do not call yourself a manager if you do this, okay? You're a professional landlord. Your team grows with every new tenant. So every new house, every new tenant I have, my team grows because I have another person taking care of another house. It's also more referrals. It's more people who know what I do and more referrals for contractors, for other owners, I've bought houses off of referrals from tenants before, which is awesome. And David Tilney says that landlording is the lazy way of playing in real estate, and I can't agree more. It also provides inflation hedged income for your retirement. You guys, I don't have to work anymore. My investments bring in about $600,000 a year. Now that's not all cash. That's not just cash flow. That's appreciation and asset pay down. Okay, so that's mortgage pay down. But all of that together is about $600,000 a year. That's one hell of a savings plan. And I don't have to keep going if I don't want to. I'm just not ready to quit. So improvements, some more improvements from tenants. This was a bathroom. This person wanted to stay at this house for a very long time, and they did. So they wanted to change up this bathroom. So this is the after. I did not pay for any of this. They did it themselves. Looks wonderful. They installed this railing because they had kids. They wanted different pavers out front. You can see they removed the old brick and put in nice pavers. This tenant planted grass. You can see the white on the lawn. That was them planting grass seed. And this is a contractor. This guy's lived in this house since I bought it. He takes fabulous care of the yard. This was him bragging on himself a little bit. And it did not look like that when I gave it to him. We get windstorms here in Colorado, and we get blown down fences. Most property managers get a million calls when these windstorms happen. I get text messages with pictures like this, followed by pictures like this, where they've put their own fence back up. This is the same tenant who's put in all these, you can see the brand new railroad ties. They have also lived in this house since I bought it. 7 years, I think, 7 or 8 years. This person put up and left a really nice shed in my yard, improving my property value. So as you can see, tenants don't just destroy houses. If you give them the right tools and the right expectations and the right autonomy, they will improve it and leave it nice for you. So you want to systematize but still be present. Make sure you know the law, find a landlord-friendly lawyer and follow them, and make sure you know the laws in your state. Screen for the best tenants and have questions that you ask every single time. Create consistent policies and procedures and hire someone to help implement them if needed. These systems will help you make money while you do other things. I have a VA who handles most of the back end of my business, and I work about 2 hours a week on my property management stuff. When something goes wrong, improve the system so that it doesn't happen again. But you guys, this is still a people business. I do not want you to pull yourself 100% out of it. You need to let people know who's behind the systems and what is expected. And you need to show that you care. Treat people like people. It is a skill set that will allow you to find and help burned out landlords. So just a couple questions you can ask tenant references. I'll just let you guys kind of screenshot these. But these are very important. These are not normal questions to ask references and people who work with them, but it really lets me know who the person is and who that personality is that's moving into the house. It lets me know if I can count on them. I don't do a deposit. We don't repair appliances. I don't do lockouts, meaning I don't go let someone in if they've locked themselves out. That's their responsibility. The tenants make their own maintenance calls, and they are responsible for the yard. I'm trying to hurry, you guys. We're almost done. If you want stable rents, take photos of what you're doing to the house and grounds and send them in. This is how I get people to send me awesome photos and take care of the house, because I promise them stable rents over time. And then they show the property to new tenants. I don't do showings. When you manage your own houses, not only do you save more money, but if you do it right, it's hassle-free. And the systems will give you time freedom. You'll find contractors, knowledge, and referrals. Listen, no one's going to care about your house the way you do. So my final thought, being a landlord is what has allowed me to grow so fast. Be as strict with your owners as you are with your tenants. Take an interest in your people. It will save you in the long run. These are new systems, so you're going to have to remind your tenants over and over and over. Send out monthly emails, remind them of how your new system works. And if you have a goal to grow, don't say someday. It will never come. Set the systems up now. I started my systems and Buildium. Started with Buildium when I only had 2 properties. Don't wait until you have 10 to 20 to build these systems. Sorry, don't worry about that. I do have a course that I'm not here to sell you guys on anything. I didn't need to bring that up, but that's it. I just wanted to tell you guys all about that. I want to open it up for questions now. And thank you for having me.
Thanks, Lindsay. Can you put your contact or because there are people asking for if you have a course and all that as well in the chat. So can you put your contact or your website or however
Yeah,
you want to do that
there you go.
In the chat? Freya, can you put that in the chat as well so somebody could copy and paste that easily if they wanted to? I know Kathleen's been asking for that, and Susan's been asking for that as well. There was some questions in here that I wanted to get to. One person asked, "How do you evict? Do you file, or does the owner file?"
If I need to evict, I'll do it. I've only had one in 20 years.
You got to some of this about how do you screen for amazing tenants. There's some questions about getting better tenants in here.
It's all about the screening. And then I spend an hour with each person during the lease, explaining the lease thoroughly and what I expect. And then I dangle a carrot for, we give a performance bonus at the end of their lease. And so that performance bonus a lot of times is more than their first month's rent if they've taken really good care of the property and done everything they said they would in the lease. So not only do I reward that way, but if they stay with me long term, they're really taken care of on the price of rent. And you don't find that most places. And they like that. So it's a wonderful thing. If you've screened them correctly and then you dangle those carrots, a lot of times you just get wonderful tenants.
There was a couple of questions I saw about how do you have the conversations with like the absentee owner, the owner. It does sound like, if you guys were paying attention, that most of her deals are coming from really like high-powered local real estate investors. I know you people a lot of people on the call do not know who Michael Jake is. I have the fortunate of knowing him, and I've known him for about 15 years. Like, the man already is his own like beast to begin with for a real estate investor. And that's kind of something that I kind of wanted to point out. Like, one of the things I learned from Lindsay the last time that I listened to her was, I'm a property manager. So something that we're changing in our own property management company is we're going to actually add one of her little things to our property management agreement saying that, we have the right of first refusal to buy any of the properties that we manage. It's something that a lot of property managers do. I just never even thought to do. But there's a lot that she said, and there's so many little nuggets. One of the things, though, that I think encompasses a lot of it is stop trying to cut everybody else out of your deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So not only can you cut yourself into deals, but you can also cut other people into your deal, if that makes sense. So she's giving you all these ideas of how she's cutting the tenant even into her deal, how she's being able to help an owner of a property that's just different. So change your mindset, change the way you think about how to structure this, and you can really cut other people into your deal. You can cut yourself a slice out of the deal, and don't think that you have to have the whole pie every time. And just so you guys know, you don't have to be Lindsay in the equation. You can actually be the Michael Jake equation as well. I've played on both sides of this. So we've done master leasing with some of our short-term, mid-term rentals. I've also said happily, hey, you can master lease my property. And I do think in the long run, the person that's the owner ends up better off in both equations. So just keep that all in mind. Susan asked again, how long are most of your leases? And
it depends. Like, with owners, it just depends. They start at 5 years. I've gone up to 10 years. I know people who've done 30 years, depending on what the deal is that they made. If you're doing, depending on what state you're in, certain laws apply. Like, you can't do lease purchases or lease to owns. You could do a master lease instead and do a 30-year lease. So you can just use them in all different ways. Now, if it's with the tenants, I do a year max. So I only promise per year, right? But if they're good tenants, they have the first, I put this in my leases too. If they're good tenants and they do everything they say they're going to do, they have first right of refusal to release the property.
All right, cool. Any more questions, guys? Feel free to unmute if you guys want to. We're here at the top of the hour here, so if anybody wants to unmute and ask questions, or if anybody wants to add more, I think I got to all the questions. I know Kathleen was asking for more information about a course. Susan was asking for more information about the course.
They can definitely call me. I'm willing to go over that with them. That wasn't meant for today, but if anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to talk to them over the phone or send them to my website for sure.
Well, yes, Brad, the replays for all of these community calls are on the website that I mentioned in the group beforehand. If you go to goodsuccess.com, you got to be able to find it. There's different places to be able to navigate there. But and also if you follow us on Facebook, and if you guys are in the Gary Dealmaker Facebook group, it will always be posted in the Gary Dealmaker Facebook group as well, last month's call. So you guys can always find it there as well. Let me see if there's any more call. I think there was one question. I'm not sure exactly how you addressed this or how you answered this, but he asked, how do you have the conversations with the owner?
It just depends on how they come to me, but a lot of times, again, it's sitting down and asking them why they're calling me, why they want to rent their house. Is it something I find out what they've been doing with it prior, right? And just get all of that kind of information. And then I ask why they called me instead of a property manager. I ask if they've worked with a property manager in the past. And then I explain how I do stuff a little bit differently. And I just talk to them. So the highlights are that I rent from them. I'm not their property manager. Again, I tell them that protects them through vicarious liability. I let them know that I take care of the home the way I do my own, that their house literally gets lumped into a system with all my personal ones. So they get taken care of as if it was mine. And so that makes people feel really confident. I have a lot of really good reviews. And I also have really good reviews from tenants, which makes them feel wonderful. I have a million pictures showing what tenants have done to my properties. So those are the things we go over, is just kind of the differences between property management, but also what I can offer them. You know, I get a lot of referrals for people who are in a bad spot, and I can offer them solutions that are not typical. They're not, oh, you need a property manager, here's 10%. I listen to what they need and I give them options. It's not a one-page contract that fits everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add to that too. Like I have a built-in, I can have as many of these deals like almost as fast as I wanted. We manage 550 doors. And when I go to my owners, they love this program. I've never had an owner that we manage for that has turned me down.
Mhm.
Now, I just don't want every one of their properties to be able
Right.
to do this program. And I do think this works better in better areas. So if you're in like the C minus, D areas, that's just my personal opinion. I personally don't think it works as well if you're in those higher appreciating, higher price point, areas. So just keep that in mind as well. If you saw most of the pictures that she was showing, I don't know what those price points are in Colorado, but I know in Indiana those are $250 and $350 and $400,000 houses. This is not your $120,000 house price point range. That I think this is gonna give you the most bang for your buck with all that. So, any other questions? Anything else you want? So that is the website. I think you put the website in here, right? Clever.
Yes, cleverkittyinvesting.com.
Yeah. So if you guys want to have more information about Lindsey, you guys can feel free to go there. Thank you, Lindsey. I really do appreciate you spending some time with me
Thank you for having me.
and investing in the Dealmaker community. I know I think the first time you spoke, I could be wrong, but the first time I heard you speak at Dealmaker was just recently.
March, yep.
But so appreciate you for being on there. I want to remind everybody next month, August 19th, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, Brandon Richardson, or Richard, sorry. Again, good guy. You guys will like him. Very personable, very relatable. Owns a really great CRM that a lot of wholesalers that I know use, and you guys will learn how to properly use a CRM if you're trying to get deals. And he might also talk a little bit about his story. And I'm excited for that as well. If you guys haven't gotten your Dealmaker tickets for Gary Dealmaker, don't forget save 100 coupon, guys, for the best rate you're going to get on those from here on out. And we will see you guys next month. Have a good day, guys. God bless. Appreciate it, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.